All right, so this is a completing the square one. You're reviewing chapter 3 and 4. It says rewrite the function in vertex graphing form. So remember, this right here, the p value and the q value is the vertex. So that's the vertex graphing form there. These ones are in standard form. So you can't look at this one right here and spot the vertex just as a pair of these numbers at all. You can spot the vertex in this form, which is the strength of this form, okay? So if we want to convert from one to the other, going from vertex form to standard form is easy. You just expand this square, right? So that's not too hard. But going the other way requires you to complete the square. So if you want to remember this one, what you do is you focus on the first two terms. That is the x squared term and the x term. And you want to make sure that you have a positive 1 as a coefficient on the x squared. If there's a number in front of the x squared, you have to factor both of these terms. You have to factor that number out of both of these terms. That's the second level one. This one I'm going to do with you right now is just first level, easy. So you focus on those first two terms, and what you have to do is you have to complete the square by putting another number in there to make this whole thing a perfect square trinomial. So we're going to obviously record the 18 that's still there. And we're also going to make sure that we don't alter this equation by just adding something to one side. We have to add something to both sides to keep it balanced, or we add something to one side and then we subtract that same thing from that same side. Those are the two options. So I'm just going to go like this, minus blank as well. So whatever blank I put in here, I'm going to put that same number over here to keep this equation balanced. All right. So what you do here is you take b, it's basically 1/2 of b squared. So it's b over 2 squared. That's what goes right there. And the b value, of course, in standard form, this is a, this is b right here, and then this would be c here. So b is -10, half of that's -5. When we square -5, we get 25. So 25 goes here. You good with that? Everybody okay with that? All right. And I have to subtract whatever I added to this side, and I added just a plain old 25, so I'm going to subtract 25 outside here. So I'm going to keep account of that. The next step then is to rewrite this trinomial as a perfect square, as a binomial square. So you go x, keep this sign minus, and whatever it was, this number that you squared, that's the number there. So -5 goes in there. And then you write that as squared, and that is how you rewrite this perfect square trinomial. And then, of course, you gather the like terms out here. 18 minus 25 is going to be, what, -7? And so that should be the vertex graphing form. A is a 1 there, because there's no coefficient, no number that's shown, so that's a 1. And your vertex is +5, -7. That's the vertex here for this. And it opens upward because A is positive. So now can you check that answer to make sure I've done that right? And then I think that should be pretty good. Is that good? Okay, does that answer your question? Let me know if you want to do like a second level one where there's a number that's other than 1 in front of the x squared. And I can do that next.
Then you would just multiply it by a -1.
Yeah, B is an example like that. So you'd have to factor that -1 out of these first two terms. And I can do that here to get you started on that, okay? So I'll erase this work so far. And yeah, B would be like, it's that same sort of thing. So you have y equals, you want to factor a -1 out of these first two terms to leave you with positive x squared minus 4x. So you want to do everything else the exact same, except that when you place a number here, which is half of 4 is 2, squared is 4. So you're going to place a 4 there. What you've actually added to this side is a -1 times 4. So what you've actually done is you've added a -4, so you just subtract that -4. So that's the only tricky part when it comes to negatives or numbers out front. You have to, when you put a 4 right here, what you've actually changed is negative times 4. Okay? So it's a -4. This has to turn into a +4. +4. And then, so this is going to be a negative x minus 2 all squared. -7 plus 4 is -3, so that should be the answer for B there. Does that look right? Okay. Does that help? If you have to factor a 2 or a 3 or something out of there, you might be dealing with fractions. But again, don't worry about the fractions. If you have like 1 over 3, and you have to take half of that, you just 1 over 3 times 1 over 2, which is 1 over 6, and that's what you square. Then you would square 1 over 6, which would be 1 over 36. So the toughest part, you might have to deal with some fractions. But. Okay. All right, any other questions on this one from anybody else? On this type of question, completing the square?